Hello everyone, welcome to Effective and Efficacious English channel. Today we are going to resume the last video, which is about writing a narrative story or a narration full of details and full of descriptive details in particular, a lot of figurative language maybe, and how can we recount an experience inside. So amongst the effective ways we used to use or utilize while writing a story is the technique of the simile and the metaphor. Sometimes they ask me that they want to describe all things they see inside without getting a synonym. Maybe they can go the extra mile by mentioning some of the examples of similes and metaphor. Because you will gain credit if you use such techniques, because some of the famous authors inside the story, they use metaphors and similes to show their feelings maybe, or to describe a place. So as you see here, examples of simile inside a story, I can say her smile was as bright as the sun. The technique of as plus an adjective plus as is a very good one, because you compare two things together in order to make the image vivid and lively. So the baby's laughter was like music to my ears. His hair was as black as coal. As we mentioned in the last video before, the atmosphere was creepy and it is as silent as the graveyard. We said that last time. Or I was frantically dashing. As fast as lightning, I dashed out of the house, or I fled out of the house. So she ran as fast as a cheetah. The moon hung in the sky like a silver coin. This is a simile with like. So we got two kinds of synonym using like and as. His voice was smooth as silk or smooth as silk. I can say that the texture or the touch of something is as soft as velvet as well. And it gives a vivid description to the reader, as well as engaging his senses more to the story. The toddler's energy was boundless like a tornado. Her eyes sparkled like diamonds. The athlete's muscles were as strong as steel. And I can say as well that it was hard as a rock. The storm raged on, thunder booming like a cannon. The dancer moved gracefully like a swan, gliding across a lake. His hunger erupted like a volcano. The chocolate tasted as sweet as honey. I think this person is as wise as an owl, or he is as proud as a peacock, maybe as brave as a lion, as tall as a giraffe. And notice here that I'm giving description to people in a story to make the character seem realistic and to give him some unforgettable characteristics in the story. Number 15. The airplane soared through the sky like a bird in flight. Her voice was as soft as velvet. The crowd cheered like a thunderstorm. The lion's roar echoed through the savannah like a trumpet. The sunset painted the sky with colors like a paintbrush. And notice here the comparison the writer might or may use in the writing section or the essay, because it's usually very bright and the atmosphere becomes very maybe lively, easily to be understood using such terms and similes. The flowers bloomed in the garden like a carousel of colors. The road stretched out ahead like a ribbon. The book was as heavy as a brick. The snow fell softly like feathers from the sky. The cat pounced on its prey like a tiger hunting in the jungle. Okay, his words hit me like a hammer. But if I say that his words cut deeper than a knife, this is a metaphor. And notice the difference. Here in number 34, his words hit me like a hammer is using the simile like, with like, but we can get it with another, using another way, which is the metaphor, without using as or like. The difference between simile and metaphor is very obvious. My childhood is not a bed of roses, or was not a bed of roses. Here is the thing. I use the technique of show, don't tell here because I'm not saying that my childhood was miserable or sad one. I'm just saying something like it was not a bed of roses, which means it wasn't the best. It was miserable. I was not happy during my childhood. And here I use the metaphor, which is lying under the category of show, don't tell in the writing section. Okay. Here you go. The second part is how to use metaphor in your essay. I can say that the world is a stage and we are all actors. Another thing, her smile was a ray of sunshine on a cloudy day. The city was a melting pot of diverse cultures. And here when I describe a city being a melting pot, I can say that another word to say that it's multicultural society or community, I can say that it's a cosmopolitan city. Cosmopolitan means a lot of people from different nationalities, they live there. So here is a melting pot. This is the metaphor. Like a melting pot. If I say like a melting pot, it's a simile. If I removed the word like or as, it becomes a metaphor. Time is a thief that steals precious moments. It means that time is slipping away. Time flies, maybe. His words were daggers that pierced my heart. Daggers, you know, the dagger that pierced my heart means that it's tapping it or it's hurting me. Emotionally or psychologically, it's painful. I cannot handle, it's unbearable to listen to such maybe curse, maybe bad words that hurt my feelings. So it's another way to say cut deeper than a knife. I compare the words as a knife that sharply cut or stab my heart. Here we go. The classroom was a beehive of activity. Love is a fragile flower that needs nurturing, and nurturing means to maybe look after or take care of. And I want you to notice how you can set the atmosphere, refer to moon surroundings, as we talked about in the previous session. The moon was a silver coin hanging in the night sky. So the moon was a silver coin. He compares the moon with a silver coin hanging in the night sky. See? Comparison. It's all about comparison in your writing. You describe things using comparison in order to sound elevated, maybe sound more professional, and you just show the reader things without saying it, without saying that the moon was shining or the moon was, sparkling in the sky, glowing. I can say or compare the moon being a silver coin, for example. The fog was a ghostly blanket, and I think this statement goes or fits well with the atmosphere, which is creepy or eerie or sinister. The fog was a ghostly blanket enveloping the town. His anger was a volcano ready to erupt. Life is a roller coaster with its ups and downs. And roller coaster, like when somebody say, I've been through a roller coaster of emotions, roller coaster is not here. The meaning is not literally translated or interpreted, but it's like you're just saying that you've been through ups and downs in your life. Maybe one day you're happy, another day you're sad, or maybe you experience both feeling at the same time. So that's why we're saying roller coaster of emotions. And it's a good one to use, by the way. Life is a roller coaster. The sun was a golden ball, painting the sky with hues of orange. Her eyes were sparkling diamonds, reflecting her joy. If somebody say, you are my guardian angel, it means that this person You, for the person, is very important and guides him. Maybe you're protecting him, you're supportive. But if I say he's like a guardian angel, this is a simile because I mentioned the word like. So hopefully my explanation alongside the pictures will make you understand or make you how to differentiate between similes and metaphor in the writing section. Let's move to the next part. Okay. The next thing I want every student to apply or implement inside the writing section is the usage of binomial pairs. Binomial pairs are expressions that consist of two elements that are usually come together or that are usually connected by a conjunction. Usually the conjunction is and or. Sometimes we got the word to as well. Like win and lose, bread and butter, now or never, pros and cons, safe and sound, rock and roll, sick and tired. So I'm saying here two words, and it gives actually the meaning of one thing, but in the collocation, the English language collocation, it's important to know how to use binomial pairs because they are very effective and useful when it comes to describing things as well as metaphors and similes. Here you go, sick and tired, my way or the highway. Sometimes there is no conjunction at all, like no fuss, no muss, like father, like son. The order of the two words is almost fixed, and we can reverse them. You won't normally hear people who say lose or win or butter and bread, but vice versa. Bread comes before the butter and win becomes before lose. So you need to follow the order of or the sequence of the phrase or the sentence or the two words, one come after another, not to reverse them ever. Many binomial pairs are extremely catchy. Yes, they drive the reader's attention, and maybe the writer is able to deliver his message very clearly and easily, smoothly, by using such binomial pairs. Yes, because of their musical or musicality, musical sense or rhythm. This happens mostly with alliteration, when two elements begin with the same letter, or rhyming, when two elements end the same. For example, here, mix and match. Like, for example, me as a teacher, sometimes I advise my students, after giving them a lot of synonyms, expressions, and metaphor and similes, we never commit ourselves to study things as it is. We usually mix and match between all the things in order to have a very productive piece of essay at the end. So mix and match. Sometimes we mix and match items to have a very elegant outfit at the end. Black and blue, this is another one, trick or treat. Hustle and bustle, here you go. This one is a very effective one, commonly used, and when you describe a city which is full of hustle and bustle, it means that the city is maybe congested, the place is always on the go. This cosmopolitan place or city has a lot of congestion. Usually the cram city center is full of people, commuters, vendors, students, passengers, transportations, shopping centers. So the place is always on the go, full of hive of activities or frenzy of activities, maybe bewildering variety of everything. So it's full of hustle and bustle, because hustle means, the act of the state of being busy, full of activities, and bustle means, it's derived from the word bustling, which is congested, jammed, or maybe crammed with people. So here we go. Another binomial pairs which are really fundamental and important. Safe and sound. After the accident, the students came back home safe and sound, which means safe. I got another one which I can write here on the margin, which is hale and hearty. Which means the person is, hale and hearty means a healthy person who's full of beans. This is an idiom expression. Idiomatic expression means the person is maybe healthy, full of beans, and I can say as fit as a fiddle. See, I'm using many ways, multiple ways to describe people here, or a person. Like if I say that this person is as fit as a fiddle, means that he's fit, he has a nice body, he's in shape, he's not out of shape, of course. If I describe this person, if I want to describe this person using binomial pair, I will go for hale and hearty, and it means that the person is healthy as well. Sorry. Okay. We got another binomial pair, which is, we got many, we got tons of them. I'm going to write them all here in the margin, like rack and ruin. Okay. Nuts and bolt, root and branch. And I can say from rags to riches. So let's start first with rack and ruin. Assume that we got a very severe earthquake. After the earthquake in the city, we found all the buildings went rack and ruin. Rack and ruin, meaning a state of destruction. They become tumble down. They are dilapidated. They are no longer available for living in. So rack and ruin here means destroyed. Binomial pair, very effective and describe the state of a building maybe, or state of a city after a catastrophe. Number two, nuts and bolts here. Maybe the word nuts and bolts equal the word details, and you might use this when it comes to describing a thing full of details. Because you know the devil lies in the details, so I can say that in order for me to have an excellent piece of writing, I should learn all the nuts and bolts of the English language, or the grammar structure, or maybe the mechanics. I should know all the nuts and bolts of how to write a story. All the details I can put there in order to hit the mark at the end. So, number three, root and branch. Root and branch equal the word completely. Please take notes because it will be very effective. Root and branch means completely, sorry. And for example, I organized the party root and branch completely. We have finished the whole exam, root and branch. We cleaned the whole apartment, root and branch. So root and branch means completely, thoroughly. And the last one here is with rags and riches. I'm going to give you an example about a celebrity who is loved and admired by everybody, who's Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey used to be very poor. At the beginning of his life, he's not that rich, like he's now a millionaire. So he was maybe living in a shoestring. He's maybe suffering to make ends meet, but now he's one of the wealthiest people in the universe. So I can say that Jim Carrey went from rags to riches. And rags here is metaphorically speaking because, you know, when people are homeless and they are poor, they are needy, they wear rags, which is a piece of cloths in very poor condition. Maybe it has rags on it and it has holes. And then to riches, which means the affluent, the wealth, having a lot of money. So if you say that a person goes from rags to riches, it means that he was once poor and now he's coming from another walk of life, okay? That's with the binomial pairs. And here you go, got another example. Neat and tidy means clean, organized. Like my mom's house is always neat and tidy. Let's make or break means the result will be success or failure. It depends on your effort. Wine and dine. Entertain someone with a good quality meal. Let's wine and dine. It doesn't mean that you will have to drink wines or something, but it's a collocation, comes as it is. Sooner or later, we're all gonna die. Sorry for that, but sooner or later means something will happen, but it's known but it's not known when. Like I will get a promotion at work sooner or later. Okay, it's inevitable. Maybe sooner or later will happen. Inevitable means like no, there is no escape out of it. It will happen. It must happen one day. And here the example I said a couple of minutes ago: hustle and bustle, noisy activity caused by people in the city. I love the hustle and bustle of the city life or of the urban city, because urban city is well known by its congested atmosphere or congestion. It's known by the hustle and bustle, as we said. It's always on the go. It's full of many things people might do in. Unlike the rural area or the countryside, the village, which is known with its serenity and tranquility, maybe it's peaceful there, you can have a peace of mind, you can get away from it all. It's peaceful. It's not congested at all. I got some handwritten binomial pairs here that could be very helpful. It might come in handy later on for you, like pros and cons. If you just writing a formal essay, especially the formal one, the formal essay here is talking about the disadvantages and the advantages aspects. Like, for example, technology has pros and cons, okay, which means good and bad sides, strengths and limitations. First and foremost, which is another binomial pair, technology facilitates our way of living by saving time and energy. Now what I did, I used two binomial pairs into one phrase. I said that technology has pros and cons, okay, which is an elevated language and formal. First and foremost, it saves time and energy. It facilitates our way of living. This is the first advantage we have to talk about when it comes to technology or technological aids nowadays. By and large, this is a good binomial pair, and a lot of people use it both in formal and formal, in an informal style and formal style. If I say by and large, means generally speaking, or generally, basically, comma, and then I put the idea, which is too generalized. By and large, people use technologies in many ways. By and large, technology is an omnipresent thing. It can be found everywhere. Nobody can imagine living without it. By and large means generally speaking or mostly, okay? First and foremost, it means that it's the most important or top thing I would like to mention. First and foremost is the priority goes first for this one, for this point. Fine. Trial and error. All methods to solve a problem. I solved the problem, or I managed to get successful in this by trial and error. I tried everything, like I left no stone unturned. This is an idiom. To leave no stone unturned, it means that you did everything and you go the extra mile doing your best in order to succeed at something. Speaking of metaphors, similes, binomial pairs, and all nuts and bolts that can make you hit the mark, it's very important here to mention idioms that describe one's feeling or state inside your narration. Like here you go, on a cloud nine. On cloud nine means very happy and excited. He was on cloud nine when his sister came to visit him. I was on cloud nine when I find myself included in the best achiever chart. Have a whale of time. To have a whale of time means to enjoy yourself very much. Like, okay, I enjoyed the day. We embarked on a journey, and after writing about the journey and experience here, you say that I had a whale of time, or I had a blast. I had a blast means that I had fun. Make somebody's day. When somebody say, you make my day, or you made my day, to make somebody happy, over the moon. And this one I like, walk on air. I can say walking in air, comma, grinning from ear to ear. I was whistling merrily because I was expecting to see somebody that I haven't seen for a while, for example. So walking in air, to feel very excited and happy after he won the race, he was walking on air. Tickle pink, this is an idiom having a color in here. Tickle pink means very amused. I was tickle pink to see her picture, for example. And last time we mentioned the idiom paint the town red, which means let's go and have fun together. Let's call it a day, stop what we're doing and start having fun. Maybe going out, maybe having dinner tonight. And the last, no, we still have three. In seventh heaven, over the moon, which is really commonly used. Everybody used this idiom. Now let's move to how to reflect on the character's feelings inside the story, especially if it's a horror one. Like we talked about last time, we were discussing how to use some idioms and how we use some of the effective, helpful phrases inside a creepy atmosphere. Last time we talked about maybe some of the creepy architecture like the gargoyle, like the grotesque Victorian houses or mansion, haunted houses. And we talked about how to say, I'm scared inside a story, using idioms. Like, for example, I wrote some examples on the board, like shaking like a leaf, trembling with fear, paralyzed with fear, my heart skipped the beat, my heart sank, my heart was thumping or pounding like a drum. And here you notice some of the idioms, including similes at the same time. As for the vocab and the synonym that replace the word scared, because when you use the word scared, it's mainly boring and at the same time it's weak. And I told you last time that you have to elevate the style, you have to upgrade the level by bringing advanced synonym to the word scared or the adjective scared. I can use, of course, terrified, horrified, petrified. They are commonly used and they are familiarized. People are familiarized with these terms. But when it comes to appalled, this is a very good word. Like appalling. If I describe something being an appalling experience or a house being appalling, the view or the scene is appalling. Appalling means bad, very bad. If you're appalled, it means that you're in a state of shock, okay? Here is the word dire replacing the word bad. It's not mean scared, but dire means bad. The report I received from the school regarding the student's attitude or behavior, assessing his academic level, the report is dire. Dire means bad. Smoking has dire consequences over the body and the health as well. Panicked. Panic struck. Alarmed. Agitated. But agitated means worried, extremely worried or anxious. Okay, so I was agitated at the sight of this mirror inside the house. Maybe a premonition of fear pervaded my senses when I saw that piece of architecture or that piece of furniture, maybe. Panic struck or fear stricken means absolutely scared. Instead of saying very scared, completely scared, extremely scared, no, we need to boost our writing or adjectives using such words. Like here I got the word petrified is a good one. Intimidated and alarmed are one of the most good, one of the excellent words we're going to have today. Alarmed. Because if something is alarming, it's creepy, it's intimidating, it's putting you under threat. Intimidated, so notice that when I describe things, I put the ing. The experience was intimidating, the person was menacing, but I am intimidated and alarmed. Okay. Of course, here we got the word spooked. And creeped out. spooked, derived from the word spooky. Terror-stricken, like fear-stricken. I don't know if it's written. Horror-stricken is written. Yeah, something called unease. When you feel unease means like you're not feeling well. You're worried. Like at the sight of this creepy mansion, I felt a flicker of unease. A flicker of unease means that there's something wrong is going to happen. I have this expectation that something bad, or feeling inside that something bad is going to happen. Okay. If the character is happy, we mentioned some of the idioms like walking in air, on cloud 9, seventh heaven, on top of the world, tickled pink. And here are some vocabulary as well that replaces the word happy, such as delighted, contented, cheerful, joyful, and we got joyous as well. Okay, we got the word elated is a good one. Ecstatic, perfectly used in the essay. Jubilant and joyous. Here you go, Joyce is written here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 synonym for the word happy. So you no longer have to write happy anymore in the essay. You go for the word cheerful. Like I was ecstatic and delirious when I know that we have a trip next week. I become so delirious, excited and happy. Delirious is a good one to use. Check the spelling. And ecstatic here is a good one as well as jubilant. Okay. Some of the effective phrases, not idioms, but they are maybe a mixture between idioms and effective phrases, describe one's mood being happy. Here you go. I was flushed with delight when, and then I continue writing why I was happy in the story. Another way, I felt a jolt of excitement when I see a bunch of old friends, when I ran into a bunch of old friends in the mall. A buzz of excitement in the air when, so I feel a jolt of excitement, a buzz of excitement in the air. These are the replacements of the word just happy or I was maybe excited. Okay, whistling merrily, comma, I went home with my gift my friend gave me on my parents' day party. Okay, so whistling merrily means this is a good way to say I was happy. It doesn't mean that I was whistling merrily, but I was in an ecstatic mood or a happy one. Here, notice the difference between this one and that one. My spirit was uplifted when I was praised in front of the school in the morning line. What does it mean? My spirit was uplifted. My spirit was elated. When something is uplifting, it means that this thing is bringing you joy, happiness, and pride at the same time. It was I was heads over heels with excitement with. I was heads over heels. It means that I was in deep happiness and love with excitement when something else happened. See how I reflect on the person's state or mood inside the story, and instead of saying just the word happy or the common word scared, maybe sad. Okay, now let's move to some of the samples I prepared for you today on how to start a story using a good way of expression, using good sense of description regarding the atmosphere. The cool of the morning turned quickly to scorching heat. So the cool of the morning, it means that the atmosphere was really pleasing. It was appealing to me as a person. The cool of the morning turned quickly to scorching heat, because when we describe a hot weather, we usually go for the word scorching, sweltering, maybe blazing. And if we are going to talk about the severe, fierce sun, I can say searing sun. Okay? So, scorching heat, this is, we'll draw a star because this is a good one. You should copy or take down notes with the words, synonym for the word hot. Scorching, as the sun rose higher and began to beat down relentlessly. Beat down relentlessly without a rest. Relentless means without taking any rest. Dr. McClintock took off his cardigan while he and his two companions continued to trudge up the slope towards the village. The smell of parched earth and dry scrub filled the doctor's nostrils. This is a very good expression to use because one of the most important thing or essential thing in the writing section is that you have to address all the reader's senses. Among us, the senses are the sense of smell. And here the author referred to the smell of the parched earth, because parched here means very thirsty. And parched here means dry earth. The smell of the dry, parched earth and dry scrub filled the doctor's nostrils. What's the doctor nostrils? It's these in the nose. We got two nostrils here. The holes you got in your nose called nostrils. And I can say that the smell wafted through the nose, through the air. Waft. We usually use the verb waft when we describe something that is wafting through my nose or through the air, the smell, the aroma, the scent. When it comes to smell of earth, I really like to mention the word petrichor. Petrichor is the smell of the earth right after the rain. You know, when the floors on the grounds and the streets are really dusty, and then the sky releases the sudden shower. So the after outcome of it is the petrichor. The petrichor is the mixture or the combination of the water coming from the sky mixed with the dust or the ground. So petrichor is written like this. And notice here that the SH is pronounced as K. Petrichor. Smell of rain, smell of earth after rains or heavy rains. And instead of saying it was raining heavily, we can say it's pocketing rain or pouring rain, as we mentioned in the previous video. So the smell of parched earth and dry scrub filled the doctor's nostrils, and the heat of the stony track burned the soles of his feet through his thin shoes. Apart from the occasional call of a bird and the strained breathing of the treemen, there was absolute silence. Say, apart from something means like away from that, we got this absolute silence. Like it's deadly silent. I can describe the silence being deadly. I can say it's deafening silence, which means that it's really annoying. And here I used oxymoron because deafening is absolutely the complete opposite of silence. Deafening means when the commotion is deafening, it means that it's ear-splitting, it's very, we can call it rowdy, strident, you know, noisy. So the silence here is bothering, is really annoying. So that's why I say absolute silence. Oppressed by the monotony of the barren African landscape, the doctor turned to Michael and sighed. Sighed means said, because sigh means, because here I'm tedious, I'm bored, so I sigh. Usually sigh when we're bored. Like this, sighed. Notice here the replacement of the word said because it's boring and tedious. We got this session of said is dead. Don't ever write said in your writing because it indicates how poor writer you are. So you can replace it by the word sighed. You can replace it by the word exclaimed, maybe roared if you're saying something out loud when you cry or when you laugh. Next session, we're going to take synonym for the word said, and we will bring some examples about how to use synonym for said and put the quotation, how to use direct speech inside the story. Again, oppressed by the monotony of the barren African landscape, he put the comma. Notice the comma after the first phrase. It's not main phrase. It's here incomplete phrase that cannot stand alone. So oppressed by the monotony, which means the boredom of the barren African landscape. Barren here means the dry landscape, the desolate landscape. We mentioned the word desolate last time in the video, which means that the place is empty of maybe green color, empty of trees, empty of plantation. And if the streets are desolate at night, it means that it's empty of people. It's vacant, empty of everyone. Desolate is a negative word used, and the complete opposite of the word desolate is verdant. When the atmosphere or the landscape is verdant, it means that it's rich in green color. It's full of different kinds of trees, and the atmosphere is totally green. The green color is dominant, and I'm going to show you a picture about this later on a video. So verdant here is lush green, and when something is lush, it's rich in something. Here, rich in green color. So the monotony here comes from the word monotonous. And monotonous means it's very boring, something that is tedious and boring, especially when it comes to maybe we feel that the session is monotonous, or that traveling by the train is really monotonous because of the rhythmic sound of the train makes us drowsy, sleepy, no life at all. It's lifeless. So monotony of barren. So the word barren means arid or bleak landscape. Okay, and I want you to visualize here the image of leafless trees standing like this. Parched earth means very dry, thirsty, needs water, like a period of drought. You know the drought? The period with no rains, long periods of no rains in a city or in a place. The doctor turned to Michael and sighed. It's much further. Then he looked at Gideon and Michael's anxious faces and added gently, I'm sure she will be all right. So this is a paragraph, okay? Maybe it's like whether the story is you have predicted or not. Underline all the references and the words and phrases describing emotions. So emotions here, like, this is the first two phrases will go with the atmosphere. But when it comes to this one, oppressed by the monotony, this one is expressing a very effective advanced phrase describing the person's mood, that he's tedious. And the landscape here is barren. So he didn't say that the weather was hot and the landscape in Africa was desolate or barren, no tree leaves. And he didn't say that he was bored out of it. Okay, he just used the other language or other elevated style, and I want you to implement the same technique in your writing. So the last thing I think we're gonna have today is another sample, but I think for the whole story. The question says, write a story which ends with the words, she knew the events of that day would change her life forever. And above the question, there is some of the words scattered randomly, and we should replace all bold line words and put the elevated, advanced words or verbs instead, adjectives instead of these bold line words with bold line. So I got this word lingering, rustled, streamed, and swirled. This is in paragraph 1. So we should replace all words go in a wild color or bold color with these ones matching in paragraph 1. So It was a clear, crisp autumn morning. See, here he started the story by clear, crisp autumn morning. And notice here the word clear and crisp, it has alliteration, and it's good to write two words starting with the same sound, not letters, sounds, to grab the reader's attention at the beginning. Crisp autumn morning, and the wind made Edith's cheeks tingle pleasantly as she walked briskly to work. Because walking briskly means briskly, bravely, and at the same time fast, okay? With confidence. Pale sunlight shone through the bare branches of the trees lining the road, and fallen leaves moved and made a noise round her feet, while the smell of bonfires staying in the air brought back nostalgic memories of her childhood half a century ago. Now I'm expecting you to pause the video a while and you try to replace all the bold words with these words on the top. Okay, so pale sunlight shone through the bare branches. Okay, instead of saying maybe shone, what can we use from above? Think about it. Of course, here fallen leaves moved, I can say rustled, because the sound of the tree leaves, or leaves in particular, they rustle when they move. Like a newspaper, when you just flip the paper, when you just move papers, it rustles. This is the sound of the papers and newspapers, or even tree leaves rustling. And by using the word rustling with a tree, I did something here called onomatopoeia, which is the sound related with the object. Like last time when we mentioned, we heard some door creaks, thunder rumbling, bats screeching, cats meowing. You know, the sound with the object creates something called onomatopoeia, which is a very advanced technique all the authors used to do to address the reader's senses, to make the situation more vivid, more lively, to engage the reader's senses to the story and make them visualize the whole scene perfectly. So, made a noise round her feet. Made a noise means what? It means rustled, right? I can say that leaves streamed and rustled around her feet, while the smell of bonfires staying in the air brought back nostalgic memories of childhood. So smell of bonfires staying in the air. But I can say swirl, because when I can say a spiral of dust swirl through the air. Swirl. When you swirl, it's like moving in a round direction, maybe in a circular direction. Swirl. Maybe the girl was sitting in the classroom swirling her hair. Okay, so swirl is a good one to use as well. Her contentment went away, however, the moment she reached the office, where she was greeted by the noise of angry voices and a lot of quick activity. Puzzled, she asked innocently what was wrong. And I want you here to notice the technique of starting with an adjective, like puzzled, comma, what happened? She asked innocently what was wrong. I can say delighted, comma, I called my friend and invite them to my party. I can say petrified, comma, I dashed out of the building frantically. So I start with the adjective, then comma, and then what happened, because this is an advanced technique as well. So her contentment went away. Went away here means evaporated, because when something evaporated means it disappeared. So instead of saying her contentment disappeared or went away, I used the metaphor example here, a metaphor use of the word evaporate, as if the contentment is like water vapor which will evaporate. So this is a good example of metaphor. I can write here, instead of went away, evaporate. And I can say here that this is a metaphor, an example of a metaphor that we talked about. However, the moment she reached the office, where she was greeted by the noise of angry voices. The noise of angry voices. can be, because they are really maybe thunderous, maybe noisy, so we can call this an uproar. So instead of saying noise, I have many ways to describe noise, many ways for the word noise as well. So, where she greeted by the uproar or an uproar of angry voices and a lot of quick activity. I can say frenzied activity because I got this example or collocation. People have frenzy of activity they might have in the city. Frenzy means fast and at the same time a lot, frenzy of activities. So quick here means frenzied, the adjective of frenzy, and we use the three words, which is frenzied, evaporated, and uproar, okay? I don't think a flurry has a thing to do with the paragraph here. A flurry activity. No, a lot. I can say a flurry as well, okay? Next. We have been taken over by another company. Someone said hysterically. So, as I told you before, that said is not recommended in your writing because it will indicate how poor you are. So that's why you have to replace it from one of the words above. And they have fired everyone. Edith's heart sank. She had refused to believe office stories of the takeover. Okay. Let me pause and you're supposed to use these words: wailed, stunned, stumbled, rumors, and gathered. Okay. So instead of saying we've been taken over by another company, someone said hysterically. Hysterically here means that he's saying maybe with a shout, with a scream. So usually we use this word, which is wailed, because wailed here means cried. But here the man was not crying. Of course, he wasn't crying. He was just saying something out loud, maybe out of pain. Maybe he's suggesting something urgent. So someone wailed. Instead of saying believe office stories here, because people are creating stories which is not true maybe. So we call these stories, which is fake and made up stories, as rumors. And take over. And now she felt lost and afraid. She had no idea what she could do or where she should go. Very surprised, she didn't even take off her coat, but simply took a few personal possessions, or possession means belongings, from her desk before she turned and walked blindly out of the office. So we need to find a synonym for very surprised here. Very surprised, it's stunned. When you're blown away by something, the formal way to say, or academic way to say blown away, surprised, you can say stunned. Like people were stunned at the quaint, maybe the quaint buildings in the city. They got stunned at the mesmerizing landscape. Stunned means very surprised. So instead of saying very surprised, it's equal to the word stunned. And then she didn't even take off her coat, but simply took a few personal possessions or belongings. Took means she collected everything, she gathered everything, okay? And the last one here is she turned and walked blindly out of the office. Maybe she stumbled, because walking blindly means the person might stumble blindly out of the office. Walk blindly. Maybe she stormed out of the building. When somebody storms out of the building, he leaves angrily. But when somebody stumbles, maybe you stumble and then you fell after it. Okay. The last one, the last paragraph we're going to have today, I think we still have 2 paragraphs. Okay. Slowly making her way to the park. See here the sentence has started with slowly here. Sentence, slowly. start with the adverb. Slowly making her way to the park, comma, Edith sat dejectedly. And the word dejectedly means sadly. But we never use sadly because it's poor, as we agreed before. So sat dejectedly here and looked at the ducks moving on the river. So we need to replace moving, looked, and sat, the verbs, the three verbs. Let me see the options we have from above that might help us find the right, correct replacement. Okay. Sad. Is it drifting, in ruins, slumped, stared, or tossed?